And a happy Monday to everybody. Welcome to Plug Talk Sports, episode 114. My name is Danny Torres, alongside Jonka Don't Stop. And we got Brandon. I think he's got a Celtics jersey on today. Is there a Celtics jersey?
Yep, NBA jersey day. You got to represent.
Who do you got on the back?
Well, it's not original, but
Better be Bird. Better be Bird.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Larry, Larry. All right. You know, I was thinking of getting like the Tatum one, but at the same time, I usually get the championship winning jerseys. So hopefully in the next 5 years.
You know, I respect that because if you were about to get up and show me Paul Pierce, this episode would be over. For sure. Well, anyways, how are you guys doing? Surviving? Living?
Yeah.
Going not too bad though.
Let's get into our plugs and shameless plugs of the week. Let's do bad news. Brandon, you got any bad news?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, because we did open this up with talking about jerseys. The bad news is the NBA doesn't know how to stop. Today, basically, they went through the whole rundown of the leaked out City Edition jerseys and all that. I got to tell you, it's like everyone's having a mid-off in the NBA. Every jersey is terrible. I mean, like you got the Atlanta Hawks doing like, I don't even know what it is, like an Arial font for their top of their jersey. And then you have, honestly, I don't know which is worse. The fact that Philadelphia went for the fourth time putting down brotherly love in a terrible font again, and again, being here for a South Florida type of podcast, the Miami Heat culture jersey, I saw the pants with. The pants apparently has a big Heat logo across the left leg, like all the way up to the pocket size. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I just think it's saying Heat culture in general. I don't like it.
It's bad. It's like I'm going to Marshall's to buy these jerseys. You know what I mean? By the end of like November, like that's how bad the jerseys are looking like this year. It's ridiculous.
It is pretty bad, I will say. Talking about jerseys, though, I will say I don't really like the color rush. I have a Dallas Cowboys color rush jersey, the white one with the blue stars on the side. I like the jersey. I just don't like that they paired it with a white helmet. I'm not a fan of the white helmet. It doesn't look good for me. But anyways, Jonka, hit me with your bad news.
Bad news, man. I'm gonna have to continue on with Brandon's, bro. Like, that's bad, bro. That's ugly. Like, I don't know what bro. I would have liked to have seen maybe bring back the nicknames, or like have for every team in that city have like a special design, like from whatever, like design company from that city, and they all have a competition to see which one has the nicest jersey that they can come up with. So if Miami will be a design company from Miami, Boston from Boston.
The nicknames are cool.
And it would be something new, bro. Like every year it's the same thing and like the same font. Like
and the worst part about it, it's like, you're getting rid of the originality, and frankly, they're just running out of ideas. Like, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the one for the Clippers, it's just clips. Just clips. Has anyone even refer to the Clippers as the clips? I don't even think you should even say the clip. Like, no one does. No one's going to the barber shop talking about the clips. You know what I mean? Like,
they're probably going to tell you, like, oh, what kind of clip do you want on the machine then?
Not gonna lie.
Exactly.
Was putting out better stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know how long we'll talk about this topic, but what I would say before we move on, make it a 1 and a 5 year deal for New Jersey, as it should be 1 and a 5 new year.
I'm going to have to say, for me, my bad news. Man, it's super annoying to say it, but once again, another Grand Prix goes by this weekend, this time in Austin, Texas, the United States Grand Prix. And it's another, would you believe it? Another Max Verstappen victory, his 50th of his career. This man started P6, was struggling all day, was complaining about his brakes. There's one point where his engineer comes on to the headsets and he's giving him information, and he literally tells him, "Shut the F up. My brakes are terrible. Don't talk to me while I'm in the braking zone." And this guy still manages to win the race. Why? Because everyone else are just idiots. Ferrari, I don't even want to get into Ferrari, bro. Ferrari decides, oh, let's only pit. Everyone took 2 pit stops. Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, oh, let's just take 1 pit stop. And his car was completely terrible, which at the end of the day, you know what happened? Hours after the race happened, he got a disqualification, and so did Lewis Hamilton, who ended up on the podium in second or third. A disqualification because something was modded in their car that wasn't supposed to be. And they always do a post-race inspection, and they found it, and they disqualified both of them. So it's just I have PTSD from listening to the Dutch national anthem at this point. Like anytime I hear the Dutch national anthem now, I just immediately, like I heard it in tennis the other day. There was a winner of something of a match, and the Dutch national anthem came on, and immediately, like I was at the table eating, and I was like, I got PTSD. I was like, oh no, Max is winning again.
Max is somewhere in the building.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. But hopefully, there's like 4 or 5 races left. Hopefully, someone, for the love of God. I mean, I know we've had Carlos Sainz win already, but someone, for the love of God, please win the race other than Max Verstappen. Please.
There should be an investigation into that, man.
He just wins. Good news, Brandon. Hit us with your good news.
Well, for those who do not know, besides the fact I'm a huge basketball nutcase, I recently just did publish for one of the papers I work for a preview, basically for the preseason for UF men's basketball. That went out. I had 2 stories for the rivalry edition for Florida Georgia that's coming out very soon. And then as well, an article, what if a Gator having to face a Bulldog in every sport? So a lot of crazy articles, but the best news, Heat basketball is coming up on Wednesday to go against the Detroit Pistons to open up this season. So a lot of Plug Talk Sport articles on basketball coming real soon. And, I know I haven't been able to write a lot since the Damian Lillard trade saga, but season is starting, so getting a lot of writing season.
Man, look at you. You're talking good about the Miami Heat. This is Jonka, this is a
moment. Miami Heat, about the chance to write about the Miami Heat. We have to see the game first. We have to see, and I would say this because I know we're going to talk about it later, but it's going to be an interesting way that this season shapes up with the new roster as it does now. But it's going to be fun writing.
They played Boston on Friday.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, to me, too soon. Too soon to start the season, but it'll be interesting.
Jonka, hit us with your good news.
I mean, I know we're going to get into it later in the show, but I don't know. You guys can pick which one you like most. Either my Patriots upsetting the Bills or the Hurricanes finally getting a win over Clemson. Since I don't even know how long I've been waiting for them to beat them. But like, God, jeez. But I'm gonna have to give it to the Patriots after all the crap talk, all the blame game, all this. Like, finally, when we finally get some of our O-line back, you see that we can actually run an offense. And look, and then we got Jack Jones back. Kyle Duggar is also playing. They played well, and you saw what we can produce. And Mac Jones didn't play pretty well. I can't lie. Look at the stats.
You got Miami. You got Miami this weekend.
It's gonna be a tough one, but Miami also struggled with us, and our team was basically thrashed to the bone, and they only won by 7. So Miami needs to, and just saying, just putting it out there. The Patriots O-line is coming back. If I'm sorry if I say it wrong, Owanguwu and Trent Brown are coming back. So the O-line's going to get even better heading into this week against the Dolphins. And it's going to be at Miami, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough one there, but I'm excited. Hopefully we can go on a run because we play some little lower level teams on after this Sunday. So hopefully that brings me some good luck.
My plug of the week, and it was the plug of the week posted today. If you guys saw it on our social media, I was at Live Golf on Saturday at the Trump National in Doral. Man, I went last year, and this year was even so much better. It's so fun. It is a little tiring because you literally follow. Immediately, I knew the matchup I wanted to see on Saturday, and I was like, I'm following that matchup. Because last year, I kind of bounced around because they do a shotgun start, which means not everyone starts from hole one. Everyone's kind of spread out, starting at different holes on the course.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, I kind of just jumped around from hole to hole looking at different players. But this year, I saw the matchup, and I'm like, I got to follow these two guys through all the 18. And it was Phil Mickelson against Dustin Johnson. Dude, like that is a matchup right there that you can't, like, you have to watch that matchup the entire day. And so I walked 14 holes, and then I was hungry. So there's like a little lounge. So I went inside the lounge, had lunch, and then was watching the rest on the TV. And then outside the lounge is literally hole 18. So I was able to see them right there. But man, it was great. They were tied right at the end. Unfortunately, I'm a Phil fan, so Dustin Johnson won. But it was great. Last year, I didn't get to see Phil in person because he had gotten eliminated on day one. But this year, I finally got to see him, and it was fun. People think going to these golf tournaments is actually fun, and especially Live Golf. It's a lot different than PGA. And then at the end, world famous DJ Alesso had a small little concert for 90 minutes, and it was great. It was a great time. It was great music. Really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going back again next year. And next year, I think I want to go on the final day instead of day 2. So that's my plug of the week. Well, let's get into some NFL football. Just an update for you guys right now. Monday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers, Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota right now winning 19-14 over San Francisco with 5:51 left in the third quarter. But the first matchup that we want to talk about is Sunday Night Football, prime time from Lincoln Financial Field, a chilly night. The Kelly Green jerseys for the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Miami Dolphins. Brandon, since this is your team, take us through that and give us your take on last night's game.
No, yeah, I mean, from last night's game, and before I even go any further, I do have to say those Kelly Green jerseys, probably the best, right? I mean, again, I didn't think there was going to be another jersey that matches up with the 1970s Dolphins jerseys, but there's a good argument there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, so Philadelphia took that one 31-17 over there in Lincoln Field. And I mean, again, Armstead not playing, Xavier Howler not playing. A lot of guys who usually play inside usually have to play the outside receiver now. So A.J. Brown, who has been on a tear recently for the Philadelphia Eagles, he honestly ate up more than 100 yards and 10 carries, but 10 catches, I would have to say. Yeah. But speaking of carries, though, the Miami Dolphins running back room with Achane not playing that game, but Mostert, nothing in the A gap, nothing in the B gap, nothing in the C gap. It was a closed shut door in the running game, so Tua Tagovailoa having to really rely on himself in Tyreek Hill, who they did, connect for one touchdown in the game, but I mean, you couldn't really find much of the end zone. I mean, this Philadelphia team, as I mentioned before in previous podcasts, it's one of the only two teams I would have to say in the NFC that has a good matchup if the Dolphins hypothetically would make the Super Bowl, right? Jalen Hurts, one of the best quarterbacks right now in the NFL and the NFC. That whole brotherly love push, the Philadelphia push, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think to myself, it should stay in the game, honestly. And, what the head coach for Philadelphia said not too long ago, if everybody could do it, they would do it. And not going to lie, if Tua can, move, get me like 3 yards or whatever from being pushed behind from Wilkins, I'm all for it. But this was a game that I think at some points it does show that Miami cannot rely a lot on the run. Mike McDaniels, when he goes against a defense that actually has pretty good man coverage and a little bit of hidden man coverage, it's much more difficult to make routes. Like, for example, Tua Tagovailoa threw one interception in this game. Where Slay basically jumped on a route where he was already in place of. Like it was Mostert going down on the sideline vertical. Right there, you have Waddle as well, where Slade was covering Waddle, and Slade just looks to his left and says, oh, awesome. Takes himself over, almost was a pick six. Thankfully, wasn't for the Dolphins' sake. But to me, this game felt a little bit more closer than it should have all the way till the fourth quarter. So wasn't the best game for Miami, but 5-2. And as Jonka did mention, New England coming at Hard Rock, and Miami so far undefeated at Hard Rock. So hopefully it does stay the same. But this was a game I think that showed more of what Philadelphia can do than what Miami isn't doing. But again, it's one of those challenges that you might see later on this season.
Jonka, your thoughts on the Eagles and Dolphins last night?
I had a feeling that this game was going to be close until one of the teams was going to have to break out, and I knew one team was going to win for like maybe another touchdown or so plus, but I think the Dolphins lost this game because they had it. Like when Jalen Hurts threw that interception and they threw it back for a pick six, right? Right then and there, the Dolphins had the momentum. And then what happened? They just what was that? They just didn't do anything with it. Like at that point right there, you had the momentum, you had the psychological advantage, and yet you did nothing with it. Eagles just basically ran it over your throats. Kenneth Gainwell and DeAndre Swift just ran you guys over, and then AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert being clutch in the third down. It was just a massacre when they needed to be. And I have a joke about Vic Fangio that it's inappropriate, but Daniel knows what it is. I think he knows what it is, but all I heard this offseason was that this defense was going to take that next step because he's a visionary, this and that. I haven't seen anything to prove it otherwise. The first 5 weeks, the Dolphins have legit played no one that besides the Bills, and they lost badly to them. And they haven't really the Eagles. Wait, my bad. I'm sorry. The first week was who did the Dolphins play first week? Chargers. Chargers have no defense. That game should have been a blowout, but the Chargers were there. They only won by 2. Then it was the Patriots. Patriots were absolutely decimated on both sides of the ball. That game should have been a blowout. They won only by 7. Then they go on to play the Denver Broncos. Mollywop them by 50 plus. Then it was the Bills. They lose badly, and then they go on to beat the what's it called, the Panthers. They haven't really they've been beating out these trash teams. I guess I'm gonna include my Patriots in there because we are bad, but they haven't really impressed me because whenever they play some sort of adversity or some team that is legit, has a legit chance of making the Super Bowl or being a contender, they fold. And we saw it yesterday again. Me and Daniel were texting back and forth, and I told him again and again, whenever Tua can't get down the field, he's bailed out by the one person that he has that knows that can get open. It's Tyreek. And I've been saying this enough. Why isn't he throwing it to Waddle? Why isn't he using all these speedsters that they have on the team? But yet, when Tyreek is doubled or tripled on coverage, it just seems like Tua just folds and becomes he just doesn't know what to do. I'm telling you guys right now, the Dolphins need to show me something in these coming next couple weeks, or else they're going to be look like as overrated. Because as of right now, it's looking like exactly the same as last year, where they beat up on bad teams and they lose to good teams, and it's going to be the same thing on repeat. I would not pay Tua that money this coming season if you're going to continue to be that mediocre with a star-studded offense like that. I'm just saying.
Look, I'm gonna just say this because I feel like there's a trend that comes around when we come around this topic. Tua and Tyreek Hill yes, they're a great connection, but there's also other receivers on the team that have also made some, I don't know, some arguments, right? Jalen Waddle, chosen the first 3 games, being started getting a touchdown basically throughout. And then you also have, whenever Claypool comes into the picture. So Miami's offense is good, is able to compete with anybody. Now, defensively, as I mentioned before, from the Eagles game, you're talking about Xavier not being there. He's basically a Pro Bowl guy, one of the main defensive guys on that Dolphins veteran squad that comes in. And then one of the new guys in Jalen Ramsey is planning to come in later on this season. And for the Dolphins, in the sense of rankings and power and everything like that, defensively in the pass game and run game, they're in the middle of the pack of the NFL. They're not an elite defense, but at the same time, as I mentioned before, how many guys are going to come back in time when it comes to those big matchups? And again, we're hypothetically speaking, let's say the Dolphins do make the playoffs. Is the full roster coming back healthy? Right? Is Xavier going to come back? Is Jalen Ramsey going to come back? Is it going to be the same Ramsey that we've seen in previous years? Maybe a Jacksonville Ramsey? I don't know. But I'm going to say it, going back to my point. Tua and Tyreek Hill are a great combo. But saying Tua without Tyreek Hill is the same way of saying Patrick Mahomes without Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
They're both great athletes.
I
There's passes
agree.
that Tua can only do Tua things, and there's catches that Tyreek Hill can only do Tyreek things. If you're trying to tell me that Tua Tagovailoa, and especially in the Philadelphia game, there was passes that he had that were in the pocket, close call passes that only he was able to get that done. We're not talking about Derek Carr giving Devontae Adams. We're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, Heisman winner, who has now proven himself to be one of the better top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL this season, not getting any concussion protocols.
I can agree when it comes to a connection with Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, but Patrick Mahomes is 100 trillion times better than Tua and
Oh,
Patrick
yeah,
Mahomes.
of course. I'm not saying in the sense of, relating quarterback to quarterback. What I'm saying is one player is a franchise player while the other one is also a franchise player, arguably.
Like if you were to remove Tyreek from the Dolphins are trash.
They're not trash.
I don't
You
care
still
what
got a good
anybody says.
receiving core
They
and a great running game.
Tua cannot do a single thing. He looks like a deer in headlights without Tyreek because he just like, who am I going to throw to that can't get open? Because
Look,
like
this is also
Waddle, he can't do to anybody else. And then, but for somehow, some way,
how does the ball get to Tyreek? He's not a running back.
Well, I will chime in and say a lot of times Tyreek has to run back to go get the football because it's underthrown, should I say.
I'm telling you right now, because the exact same thing I saw from ESPN where they're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, all he does is just these short passes. He has short passes. What are we talking about short passes?
Yeah, that I didn't understand.
I mean, again, I understand the argument. Of course, maybe he is, a Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan type of thing, whatever that we're seeing right now with Miami Dolphins. But I'm telling you, Tua is a franchise quarterback. To me, because I wasn't a Tua believer, but to me, he's definitely proven himself the past 2 years. He belongs in the NFL as a starting quarterback. That's the way I see it. I honestly thought Justin Herbert was the guy that we should have drafted. Tua kind of proving himself in accuracy. And now in the sense of, 1/4 through the season, no concussions, no nothing crazy going on. And the jiu-jitsu is apparently working. I mean, he can play.
I mean, I can agree that he's really good when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's really good. But the thing is, but when accounting for this year, he hasn't really played like any teams that can really get to him yet. Once he starts playing, like New England was the first team that could get to was the first one to sack him, and New England was a decimator on defense that game, and yet they held him to 7. Like what I'm expecting from Miami, from all this hype and all these offensive weapons, and Mike McDaniels being this offensive guru, I'm expecting like you should be winning these games by like 2 touchdowns or more against these bad teams, and yet they're just playing average, bro. Like to be honest, this is me. Maybe I'm wrong, but like they haven't impressed me, bro. Like it's the same thing. Once you get to the playoffs, you're playing the teams that deserve to be in the Super Bowl, and yet to have happened is a Dolphin actually beating a good team that's going to be in the playoffs yet.
Look, what I would say about that They had impressive comebacks against bad teams. They've been blowing out bad teams. And we can go do perfect examples in blowouts from earlier this season. But in the sense of playing against bad or good teams or whatnot, the Buffalo Bills game, I described it as a 1 in a million game. I mean, again, I guess it was proven because the Bills lose against the Jets and the Patriots who are making a comeback. I do have to say, I love watching Mac Jones in that game. But with that being said, like there's great teams out there, but are the Bills a great team in the NFL this season?
I said I predicted they were going to.
Are the Eagles not the best team in the NFL right now?
I'm going to say they're
happens week by week.
I think they're inconsistent is what they are. That's what I think Buffalo is.
I said Buffalo.
Let me give my take. Let me give my take to this game. I wasn't impressed by either team. Neither Miami or Philadelphia. First of all, Hurts throws another interception. That's what, now number 8 in the season? Why is nobody talking about this? But of course, you guys know who I like. Someone from over there throws an interception. It's breaking news on SportsCenter the next morning for the next 3 hours. But Hurts, interception number 8, no one's talking about it. I will say the officiating was a little sus.
I will say that too. I agree.
Yeah, that was
that face mask that wasn't called was. Ooh.
I will say the roughing the passer, for me, I thought that was roughing the passer. The football's long gone. There's no need to shove him.
Are you talking about the Wilkins one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a push. Like Jalen Hurts, I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts can take a push.
No, for sure. But it's the fact that there's no need to push him. The ball's gone. No need to put your hands on him.
Yeah, there was no need to just go into
randomly to shove him. Like, there's no need for that.
Just
But actually, funny that you mentioned that, though. There was a quote after the game. I think it was from Jalen Carter or one of the D linemen from the Eagles that talked about being pushed and like getting a flag for it. Said he did his best LeBron James impression.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I understand there's a lot of leagues out there that are trying to jump on that, but come on, man.
Was it Jalen
When the
Carter?
team's admitting it after the fact, it's like.
If you look, I would understand if it's like close, like one right after the other. I understand. But the ball, like I rewatched it like 10 times. The ball was long gone. And he just randomly just goes up to him and just shoves him. Like, come on, like you know better. You gotta know better. You know what NFL climate we're playing in nowadays. Like you gotta know better. The reason why I'm unimpressed is let's talk about the Dolphins first. Chargers. You talked about Justin Herbert earlier. I think this season's really revealing a lot about him. Last 2 games, he's thrown interceptions that would end the ball game for his team. Patriots are trash. Broncos are trash. Bills, like we said, really inconsistent. Giants are trash. Panthers are trash. Eagles were really the first team that they've played, that are in a contention spot. And then they got Patriots again coming up. This is where I think we'll get, it'll be a good game. They got the Chiefs. That's, I believe in Germany, international series. And then just for the Eagles themselves, I've been telling Jonka, and Jonka knows this is the truth. I've been telling him since week 1, I don't find Philadelphia as good as they were last year. I don't. They played the Patriots trash. The Vikings, I don't know what the hell they're doing in, this season. The Buccaneers, not bad. Not bad. I will say they're mid-tier. Commanders, they played the Commanders and they had to go to double overtime to beat the Commanders. They beat the Rams, trash. The Jets, they lost to the Jets. Lost to the Jets. By the way, we obliterated the Jets. I'm just going to say that. We obliterated the Jets and, it's the Jets. But the Jets beat the Eagles and, of course, no credit because, okay, and then, of course, they play the Dolphins. So I don't think either team has really been challenged as much. They've played some pretty garbage teams. And it's pretty much stat padded their records. To be honest, for me, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa last night, they looked whatever to me. They kind of looked almost on the same level. They looked whatever to me. Yeah, the tush push worked. Brown was cooking. That's what was killing Miami, to be honest. I think that's what separated them in the second half because this was a ball game in the second half for Miami.
Yeah.
They were still in it. Brown is what killed them, to be honest. Was 31-17 final score. But don't worry. What I'll say to finish this off is, towards the end of the season and when we get into the playoffs, we really see who's who. We really see who's who. So just wait on it. I don't think they're 6-1, Philadelphia. I'm not too sure they're the team to beat. I still think San Francisco is the best team in the NFC. Even though they're losing right now to Minnesota, I still think, hey, do not. Are you going to tell me Philadelphia is the team to beat in the NFC over San Francisco? I don't know, bro.
McCaffrey is looking kind of.
No, but he just came back from an injury, though. He just came back from an injury from the week before.
I get that.
Oh, remember, no Debo. Debo makes a difference.
Yeah, no Debo too. Like, again, I'm not saying anything negative about the 49ers. Like, Kyle Shanahan will forever be one of the better offensive minds in the NFL actively right now coaching. But is Brock Purdy really going to take them to a Super Bowl? Like, are we just going to see them do, yards after the catch type of offense, the defense working out well? But Are we really expecting them to go into Philadelphia, depending record-wise what happens at the end of the year, go against all these teams during the divisional and playoff type of matchups? I don't think that's a team to last.
Frankly, I don't know, bro. I've doubted Brock Purdy already, and
I get it. Don't doubt the guy from Iowa State. I get it. But what I will say is this. It's only been 7 weeks of NFL action.
Yeah.
And from all of it, there's 3 things I can take away from it in the NFC part of things. The Lions are going to win the division single-handedly. The 49ers are good. However, you miss one piece out of that offense, it goes into shambles. And the defense is starting to crumble a little bit against Minnesota tonight, which might even, foreshadow something.
With no JJ.
And third, and I'm only saying this because this is what I truly believe, until Philadelphia gives me a reason to really be like, okay, maybe these guys, maybe there's something wrong with the defense. Maybe the coaching is not good. The coaching is great. The quarterback play has been pretty decent to at least be stabilized. And you talk about these close games in the NFL. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, like the only loss the Eagles had was from an interception on their own side of the field. Like what mistake changes a 7-0 record?
It shouldn't have been that close with the Jets.
I mean, close or not, it's the fact of getting the job done early in the season, which I thought was something that McDaniel said after their game. I forgot who it was at home, but I know Mike McDaniel said that, and it does, basically talk about a lot of the good teams. Like, are the Buffalo Bills still a contending team? Are the Chiefs a contending team? Are the Dolphins? Are the Eagles? You know what I mean? And you look at the records and you say, no, of course not. They lost 2 to 3 games. Like, you just never know early in the season. Now, when it's week 14, you should be blowing out everybody in the middle if you're a contender. But it's too soon to tell. And as I mentioned before, the Dolphins, too soon with injuries still happening.
I can agree to that. Now, let's go over some scores so we can move on to college football. On Thursday, we had the Jaguars, who I'm not gonna lie, not doing bad. They beat the Saints 31-24. The Browns beat the Colts 39-38. Of course, the upset, Patriots over the Bills 29-25. Giants over the Commanders 14-7. What a trash can of a game that was. This one right here is the one that surprised me. Ravens over the Lions 38-6. That one was a shocker. This one also was a shocker. 30-12. Bears over the Raiders. The kid from Shepherd College at a D2. That one was a shocker. Falcons over the Buccaneers 16-13. Steelers over the Rams 24-17. Seahawks over the Cardinals 20-10. Broncos over the Packers 19-17.
How?
I don't know, man. Chiefs over the Chargers 31-17. And Eagles over the Dolphins, like we just talked about, 31-17. 17. And again, currently Vikings leading the 49ers 22-14 with 13:40 left in the fourth. But with that, it's going to take us into college football. Let's go over the new rankings. At number 1, Georgia. At number 2, Michigan. At number 3, Ohio State. At number 4, Florida State. At number 5, Washington. At number 6, Oklahoma. At number 7, Texas. At number 8, Oregon. Back in the top 10 at number 9, Alabama. At 10, Penn State. At 11, Oregon State. At 12, Ole Miss. At 13, Utah. At 14, Notre Dame. At 15, LSU. At 16, Mizzou. At 17, falling 7 spots, North Carolina. At 18, Louisville. At 19, Air Force. At 20, Duke. At 21, Tennessee. At 22, Tulane. At 23, UCLA. At 24, USC. And finishing off the rankings at 25 from the Sun Belt Conference, James Madison. So, what do you guys think of these rankings and this past week's college football?
Honestly, I think the first thing that comes to mind is that Utah owns Caleb Williams. The guy's 0. I don't get it. The guy's 0-3 against them, and it's like every single time he has something to say. Like in the Pac-12 championship game last year, we're writing something. I forgot it was something to saying, "Oh, I own Utah, this and that, blah blah blah." Revenge game. He gets blown out there, and then he has a close one against Utah, and it's like USC now being a top, basically 25. I can't even say top 10, top 15 no more. I mean, their playoff dreams are gone, and maybe even their Pac-12 dreams. But one thing I thought was really interesting, though, going into this week, I was really curious exactly what was going to happen with Alabama, Oregon, and Texas. I think Alabama definitely responded, coming back against Tennessee after being down 20-7 in the first half in their game at home. Oregon, of course, is I find it really interesting that Oregon, even one loss, though, but I still feel like they have enough chances to be over Oklahoma or Washington whenever those two drop. But what I would say is this. Texas is still alive.
Yep.
From at least from what I see, because I know there's going to be a Big Ten championship game soon. But from the spots 4 all the way down to 9, I think it's free space. One loss could shake that thing up easily.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now, from Texas, look out for them. Oklahoma might do something, but I'm not expecting Washington to really stay there.
I will say we talk about Oklahoma, what really surprised me, they took on UCF, and UCF gave them a fight. UCF gave them a fight. Oklahoma only won 31-29. I was really shocked about that matchup, to be honest.
Shout out to the Knights.
Of course, Air Force beat their rivals Navy 17-6. Oregon over Washington State 38-24. Of course, Alabama over Tennessee 34-20. Tulane over North Texas 35-28. Minnesota took Iowa out of the rankings, upsetting them 12-10. That sounds like a trash can of a game. Texas over Houston 31-24, close game. Then the upset, Virginia 31-27 over North Carolina. Again, Virginia, I believe, is the next opponent for the Miami Hurricanes. Ole Miss over Auburn 28-21. Michigan 49-0 over their rivals Michigan State. Florida State 38-20 over Duke. LSU 62-0 over Army. That's incredible. Ken, you just talked about it. Utah and USC. Utah with a 34-32 victory. UCLA 42-7 over Stanford, and Washington 15-7 over Arizona State. Jonka, talk to us about Miami and Clemson.
Alrighty, listen. I came into this game like the last 2 weeks. Before the game even started, the previous 2 weeks have been a depression. Like it was a stupid decision by the coaching staff to not take a knee. Then they have to go into Chapel Hill and basically try to beat Drake May and Terrence Walker coming out of being allowed to play again. So he was hyped up. it was that was a losing situation. But at least if it was any previous team, I think they would have just like given up on the whole season. But the good thing is, like, they went into that. Okay, you know what? Let's focus on the next game. Forget about what's happened the past 2 weeks. Let's focus on this game. They're back home. They play Clemson, and if for you guys out there that are listening, for you guys that don't know, the past, like, I'd say, decade has been getting their, how do you say, their butts wiped by Clemson every season. If it's during the season, if it's in a bowl game, if it's in an ACC championship game, whatever it is, it's been bad. But fortunately, Dabo Sweeney doesn't like recruiting from the transfer portal. And so, and now with Mario Cristobal's recruiting, I think it's leveled the playing field now. And we see what happened with Ruben Bain. I don't know if you guys focus on him. He had the game of a lifetime. Let me just put it out there. He's a true freshman, by the way, out of South Florida. Let me see here. I have the stats. The boy went off, by the way. If you guys, he had
I don't know,
eight
bro.
tackles, 2
Their
sacks.
victory looked like they just won the Super Bowl.
Sorry, you broke up. You broke up.
When they won that game, it looked like they just won the Super Bowl.
Hey,
When they won that game,
yeah, I heard.
they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was the biggest game.
It was that was the game. We have been struggling psychologically with that team for the past decade. Just winning that game has just basically alleviated some of the pain.
Yeah, double overtime on the goal line too, 4th down.
Yeah, so he had 8 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, and 1 forced fumble. And let me just point this out there for Ruben Bain. Shout out to him if he ever watches this. I would love to have you on if you're watching this ever. But he leads in the first 8 weeks of the NCAA football season. He has the most pressures with 29 pressures. That leads Luca Van Ness, Miles Murphy, Trayvon Walker, Jermaine Johnson, like crazy people. And then also I think he has more pressures than Jared Verse from FSU, and then 4 other top prospects that are entering the NFL draft this season. And he's a true freshman, so shout out to him. He's balling right now. But as of right now, yeah, like Emory Williams, true freshman quarterback, his first ever start, comes in. He's never had first team reps. He's not familiar with the how do you say the offense yet for the starting players. So you can tell, like me and Daniel even agreed that the game was kind of slow. But I mean, you'd have to recognize that it's his first time ever playing. It's going to be slow, and the throwing game wasn't there, so they ran the ball. Hey, if Clemson's is gonna give you the running game, you run that ball till the end of the game. They gave up almost 200 yards to us, and we only gave up 31 yards rushing to Clemson, which was pretty good. But Emory Williams, I'm impressed for his first ever start to beat Clemson. I hopefully we go into next week. We play Virginia. They just upset North Carolina. They're going to be motivated to beat us. So then officially I heard TVD is going to be playing this coming week. So hopefully he plays well. But I mean, it's a great win for South Florida. And shout out to FIU too, who also won in double overtime.
That's what I was about to bring up. Jonka and I watched this game, and man, overtime for FIU was double overtime for FIU, and it was a victory, bringing them to 4-4. I mean, look, it was a little embarrassing. They took them double overtime against Sam Houston, who hasn't won a game, and it was over there. It was on the road. They come up big in double overtime, and they're now 4-4, and FIU is 2 victories away from clinching a bowl appearance. So, and for Miami, they're 1 win away from clinching a bowl appearance. So I really just want to see FIU back in a bowl game. So I am excited for that, and hopefully they can come up with those 2 victories needed to get them there. They got Jacksonville State this upcoming Wednesday, and again from Miami, they got Virginia. Now, let's get into the NBA. Season opens tomorrow. We're on the eve of the season at 7:30. Both games on TNT, should I say. Lakers and defending champion Denver Nuggets at 7:30, and at 10 o'clock, and this is Eastern, we've got the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. Brandon, you're the basketball guy. Let me take you first through Wednesday's game, because the rest of Wednesday, the league is in action. You got the Miami Heat taking on the Detroit Pistons, as Brandon mentioned earlier. We got the Hawks and the Hornets, Wizards, Pacers, Celtics, and Knicks. That should be interesting. Rockets and Magic, Cavaliers and Nets, Timberwolves and Raptors, Thunder and Bulls, Pelicans and Grizzlies, Kings and Jazz, Mavericks and Spurs, and Trailblazers and Clippers. So, Brandon, take us on this eve of the NBA season. What are your thoughts on this upcoming NBA season?
Well, I mean, for the preseason alone, I think the biggest things is that, Victor Wembanyama is the real deal. And for some reason, the Spurs and OKC will have the best rivalry games this year. But besides that, I mean, looking at tomorrow's games, though, is just insane. We're talking about the Denver Nuggets going to be hosting a banner for the first time ever, NBA banner. So that'll be something to watch, of course. I'm expecting the Nuggets to be as good as they were last year. But the game to watch, I would have to say tomorrow, Golden State against the Phoenix Suns. New roster for both teams. Chris Paul actually looks pretty decent on the offense for Golden State. And then at the same time, Bradley Beal, it can work. Like, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal can work on a backcourt together. So I think it's really interesting, though, from this season's NBA. I think the West is wide open. And then the Eastern Conference, because, again, I couldn't go a full hour talking about the NBA right now. But with the amount of extensions that have been going on recently, with the deadlines happening, Giannis stayed with 136 million or something like that. But the extensions today, because it was the deadline today, it just proves again that, man, some of these teams are pushing for the playoffs, and one of them is the Orlando Magic, which I'm very high about. So the Eastern Conference should be really interesting in seeing some of those teams play out, and especially the Washington Wizards, who their roster, I'm very interested in what Jordan Poole does this year.
And Kuzma too.
And Kuzma as well. Who knows what that duo can do? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting first week of the NBA, as you mentioned before earlier. Celtics Heat Friday, as soon as that can even happen, as the Heat logo. But speaking of the Heat, though, starting off against Detroit, who I would have to say is going to be one of the bottom feeders this season. I'm telling you, it's going to be really interesting. Like, Jamal Cain has really impressed me during the preseason. I'm thinking to myself, like, from a lot of the lineup wise, what the Heat can do. I know they got RJ Hampton off of a signing, I believe, not too long ago, about a few weeks. I didn't see much of him in preseason, though, that I wanted to say it surprised me. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be interesting. They didn't play a lot of Jimmy Butler during the preseason, so he might be really shaking on Wednesday. But Bam Adebayo looks pretty good for Miami. He still has a good isolation game. The bench is still questionable how that's going to look like. And Josh Richardson, I wouldn't be very high on him at all if you're a Heat fan. But, yeah, I mean, definitely is going to be a great matchup to start the season. But, again, I can go a full hour about this, but it's going to be a hard time for the Heat in the Eastern Conference. A lot of playoff teams looking to make a push with these extensions. I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult.
So let's go over the Heat's roster and who they have right now. Brandon, I want to get your take after this. Bam Adebayo, Thomas Bryant, Jimmy Butler, Jamal Cain, RJ Hampton, Tyler Hero, Haywood Highsmith, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson, Duncan Robinson, Orlando Robinson, Drew Smith, and Cole Swider. That roster right there, do you think – I don't know what to think anymore, because last year I said this roster's not enough to do it all over again. It's not. And then they came to the playoffs, and I was like, what the heck am I watching? I want to say roster is going to struggle. But I don't want to be wrong again, so I just don't know.
No, yeah. I
what
mean,
do you think about this
again,
roster?
I mean, you have like great reason for that. I mean, the past 2 seasons, for me personally, as a guy that looks into basketball and all that stuff, trades and all that, you can never predict anything. Like the month of May comes around, and it's like Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin are apparently 20-point scorers every single week. So for me personally, I don't know what to make up this Heat roster. But what I would say is the most interesting part is we all know what the starting lineup is. It's an impressive starting lineup that could be a playoff team. But depth-wise, from the returners, with the most experience on the bench, most likely will be Duncan Robinson, and that's kind of a concern. All right? I think Cole Swider has definitely improved himself during preseason. He was kind of a guy that come onto this as a 24-year-old, onto this Heat roster out of nowhere. But I didn't see much from Orlando Robinson. I don't think Thomas Bryant is going to move the needle at all. I mean, I think Bam Adebayo is still going to need a lot of help because it's not like, Bryant's going to play the 4 and shift out Kevin Love. That's a whole different offense you're playing there. But Miami's still going to be aggressive on defense. However, they might not have the roster to do it. So it should be really interesting if Eric Spoelstra transition to a 2-3 zone or a high 2-3 zone, which we saw in the playoffs, or let alone, maybe you don't need defense in this situation. Tyler Hero, he's going to be the main starter. A lot of Heat fans are very happy of him coming into this situation where a lot of trade talks with Damian Lillard had him in it. So who knows what he was going to look like going into the season with his relationships with the Miami Heat. So it looks like the relationships did not get affected at all. So he looks to be the starting shooting guard, at least in this case. And him and Bam Adebayo should have a jump year. But roster-wise, this is at least a 5th to 6th best team in the East. To me, at least, roster-wise.
I want you, and let's start with the Eastern Conference. And I know this is difficult, but 1 through 8. Who do you think finishes 1 through 8 in the Eastern Conference here?
Ooh, hold up. Let me just double check something
tough.
real quick here. I want to make sure I got all my notes right. I just want to make sure I got all my notes right here.
Yeah, bro. I'm taking out a pencil too.
Yeah, because I think the interesting part about this season with the NBA in-season tournament, they'll have like the amount of games we can see on those Tuesdays and whatnot will be like the big ones. So there might be some teams that got easy wins just because of the way they're grouped in like needed time in November. But I'm going to go start from 8 and then down in this case. At number 8.
Okay.
I truly do believe that this will be a play-in team we're talking about. But I truly do believe that there will be a situation later on in the season where the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to struggle, but they're going to just pop right back in it. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers will regress this season, and they will be an 8th-seeded team going out of the play-in tournament. And then you go look yourself at number 7. That's where I have the Miami Heat coming in. I think the Heat, again, as I mentioned before, at best, a 5th best roster spot team. But we're talking about a minimum 42 to 40 wins. You're in the middle of the pack right there. There's a lot of teams in the East that can easily win 50 wins or plus that. And I think the Miami Heat roster-wise, I think there's at least a 7th-seeded team at 40 wins. Take the over on that if you want to. I don't care, but 40 is the number there. At number 6, don't judge me. I got the Orlando Magic. All right? Paulo Banchero is going to take a leap.
Okay.
They just did an extension of Cole Anthony, which I think will be a great addition for them in a sense of reserve role for the next few years. And Franz Wagner had a whole FIBA World Cup tour. I mean, that roster is coming into guys are not sluggish. Guys are not, really tracking anything in the preseason when they're having their games. They're very aggressive on that. I don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Suggs at all. I don't think he's going to really last a lot in Orlando. But what I will tell you this, Orlando does have a roster that I think will match itself to at least 40 to 45 wins around that range. I had them at number 6. Number 5, I don't think this should be a big surprise for anyone. I have, as of right now, the Atlanta Hawks. I know they just got rid of John Collins, but at the same time, I'm not going to doubt DeJounte Murray. I'm not going to doubt Trae Young or Clint Capella connection. I think Atlanta does have, and this could be a make or break season for Atlanta, I think. But I think they will come out at least at number 5. And then the top 4, I guess a little bit of a shocker, Philadelphia 76ers. No one knows what's going on with James Harden. Joel Embiid maybe those injuries are getting to him a little bit because Tobias Harris ain't going to do much. And the only positive I have to say besides Joel is Tyrese Maxey. There's not a lot of things going on in Philadelphia. Besides, they have a core of guys that you could say are a playoff team. Number 3, I have the New York Knicks. The Knicks, Jalen Brunson will be an all-star, and that is a guarantee will be an all-star this season, Jalen Brunson, in the Eastern Conference for the New York Knicks. I think they're going to take a big leap and win 55 games. And then the top 2, I have Celtics at 2. I'm just saying that just because regular season-wise, I already saw the ESPN rankings. They put Celtics number 1 again for some reason. I don't know why they want to set us up like that, but the Celtics have a better roster than Milwaukee. They have a better sense of reserve players and a sense of, chemistry-wise. When you look at Milwaukee, besides, of course, the big addition of Damian Lillard, you got Holiday going to an Eastern Conference rival. You have Chris Middleton still dealing with some injury reasons reasons he wasn't able to play any preseason games. And Giannis, he's going to be Giannis. Like, he's going to be the best player in the NBA week by week. But besides that, who's coming off the bench again? Malik Beasley?
Yes.
Mike Portis?
Yep.
Like Covington? Like, I'm not going to lie to you. This team, as we saw against the first round against the Miami Heat, it's got holes in its offense. And if Giannis Antetokounmpo isn't going to be able to be available throughout the entire season, or Chris Middleton's going to be available through the entire season, like Damian Lillard, as good as a player he is, he doesn't have a lot of playoff success. So this will be a real challenge for him. I want to see him actually succeed, but I don't know how far they'll go. So I'm saying good regular season team. I wouldn't really want to bet on them just yet for the playoffs, but they will be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Okay. Jonka, give me with your 8.
All right. This is the 8 for the East right now. You want me to start from 8 to 1 or from 1 to 8?
8 to 1.
All right. 8, I think it's going to be a shocking turn of events. But I got the Wizards at 8.
Whoa.
Okay.
I got the Wizards at 8. I think with Kuzma, and I forgot who else they added. You said it earlier.
Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole. I think they're going to be a dynamic duo, and I think them being young, they're going to be sporadic and highly offensive. So I think but they don't have that much experience, which is why I put them at 8. And they're the Wizards. 7. I'm gonna have to put the Heat at 7 because I just know that Jimmy. Because we all know Jimmy doesn't put that much effort into the regular season. He'll have a big game here and there, but he doesn't put that much effort because he saves himself for the playoffs. And we don't have that much of a bench right now that can do something. But I could be wrong. Hopefully, I'm wrong. The Heat go higher, but I got the Heat at 7. I'm kind of like away from what you think about the Cavaliers. I'm putting them at 6 because even though I think they are struggling with Donovan Mitchell right now, there's some rumors that there's like some like bad chemistry right now going on. But I think they still got a bunch of talent. I think they added what's his name, Strus.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get even better, and they're more youthful. They're gonna be fast. They're gonna be spot up shooting. Their threes are gonna be really good. So I put them at 6. I got 5. Think about this for a second. All right. They added Bruce Brown. They got Tyrese Halliburton. They got Naismith. They got Daniel Theis as their center. They got Obi Toppin. I got the Pacers at 5.
Whoa.
They got some good names. They got a rookie, Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, Buddy Hield. They got some brothers now, bro. They got some brothers.
Look, I mean, Mathurin is like a good player, right? I'm not taking any away from the roster, but how does this shape up, though, man? I mean, is it just gonna be guard play that's gonna take it to the East?
Hey, they also have TJ McConnell, so you can't even sleep on him either.
Okay.
All right, 4. I got the Knicks. I think the Knicks are gonna stay. They're not gonna go up. They're not gonna improve, but they're not gonna go down either. I think they just stay where they were last year at 4 or 5, wherever that little section right there.
Yep.
Then I got the Sixers. Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris are going to be the same. They're not going to be number 1. They're going to be number 1 maybe for like 2-3 days. then they're gonna fall off again because next I got the Celtics at 2. They did add Porzingis, but he has been questionable because he's always injury prone. So that's gonna be a problem for the Celtics. But they still got Tatum. They got Brown. They're gonna be good. Then if you don't know who's number 1, you're living under a rock. I think it's gonna be Damian Lillard and Giannis, who signed the extension today. They're gonna be on my number 1.
All righty. Here's my list. At number 8, I'm gonna have the Orlando Magic.
Okay, I can see that. Bonkero.
At number 7, I'm gonna have the Indiana Pacers.
Okay, you see, I'm not crazy.
They got some brothers, bro.
They got some brothers now. Okay.
At 6, I'm gonna have the Miami Heat.
Okay.
At 5, I'm gonna have the Philadelphia 76ers. At 4, I'm gonna have the Atlanta Hawks.
At 4?
Yeah. At 3, I'm gonna have the New York Knicks. At 2, I'm gonna have the Boston Celtics. And at 1, I'm gonna have the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers make the playoffs.
No, yeah. Actually, you know what? I was going to include this one part because I think that, for Cleveland, as I mentioned before, they're going to regress, but then like pop out of nowhere. I'm feeling vice versa, the opposite for the Brooklyn Nets, but they're like in the play-in, they don't make it, which I think is really sad because I do like Brooklyn's roster this year. And who knows? They can easily be a good team.
We shall see what transpires. But NBA season starts tomorrow night, and that's the end for us tonight. Thank you for watching episode 114 of Plug Talk Sports. Tomorrow, our barbershop talk with Sean O'Gorman, NFL and NIL agent, is dropping. So stay tuned for that. And of course, stay tuned to all of our social media on TikTok, Twitter, or X, whatever you call it. And Instagram and YouTube as well to stay connected. We thank you all for your support. We hope you have a great rest of the week and have a great rest of your night.